Okay, we've talked a little bit about addressing, different types of network addresses. Now let's take a look at the types of communications we can have. Here I have a little simple network. Here's my router to get to the rest of the world. Here's my switch connecting my devices. Notice I've got a few computers, and this is supposed to be a printer. I guess it could be a printer. I don't know. I just drew a little, looks like a little wheel there. Maybe that's where the paper comes out. But anyway, that's a printer. So just go with it. Anyway, this is my small network. Now, communication types we can have. We can have unicast communications, multicast communications, and broadcast communications. Let's take a look at unicast first. Unicast is going to use a host address as the destination. Okay? Multicast and broadcast are going to use special addresses, which we'll see in a minute. But first off, unicast uses the address he's trying to get to, and that's the only thing he uses. So let's say this computer right here, 4.1, is trying to talk or send information to the printer. Remember, that's a printer. Send information to this printer. A unicast addressing will use this address, 172.16.4.253, as the destination address. 172.16.4.1 will be the source address. So the source is trying to send something to that specific destination. That is unicast communication. Okay? Now, multicast. Multicast is a special case. He's going to send traffic to selected hosts. We do that a lot for video feeds, news feeds, software distribution, anytime where a group of people can subscribe to a multicast group to get information. Now we're no longer going to use these host addresses. We need to use a special address called a multicast address. The multicast addresses have been set up for us from 224.0.0.0 to 239.255.255.255. Anywhere in that range we could use as a multicast address. Okay? In our little example here, let's say that these two guys subscribe to a news feed on 224.10.10.5. Now they're going to maintain their host address, but they're also going to know about this multicast address, 224.10.10.5. Now I've got a news device up here, or some kind of feed on the internet. When the information comes into my network, that information is only going to go to the guys that are part of the multicast group. But it can be multiples. So anybody that's part of the multicast group using this special address that's been assigned to that multicast group will get the feed that I'm trying to get into it. Okay? Now broadcast. Broadcast is going to be used when we don't know an address or when we're requesting an address. We're asking somebody, what's your address? Or if we're exchanging routing information, sometimes routers will use broadcast addresses. There's two different types. There's a directed broadcast. The directed broadcast will send to every device on a particular a specific network. So let's say I wanted to send to a network off of this network, let's say 172.16.5, and I want to send it to everybody on that network. So I would turn all the host bits on. Remember that? We turn all the host bits on, that becomes a broadcast address. This is specifically a directed broadcast. So if this guy here wants to send out a message to that destination, it's going to hit the router, and normally a router would drop a broadcast. But directed broadcasts, you can set up your routers to pass directed broadcasts and the directed broadcast would go to wherever it needs to go to. When it got to this network, it would go to every device on that network. Let's say we had 1, 2, 3, 4 different devices on that network. That message would go to every single device on that network. Directed broadcast to a specific network. The other type of broadcast we have is a limited broadcast. A limited broadcast is used for communications limited to the hosts on a local network. So I could, if I was this guy here and I wanted to send a message to everybody on my network, I could use the limited broadcast address of 255.255.255.255. When I created a message with that and sent it out, oops, I'm supposed to be using multicast. Oh yeah, multicast is green. Okay, this is the limited broadcast. It goes to every device on this particular network. When it gets to the router can't do anything with it. The router cannot push it on because he cannot handle broadcasts. He cannot handle limited broadcasts. Limited broadcasts are strictly for the network they're on. Okay, so again, our 3 types of communications. Unicast, when one source address sends to a specific destination address. Multicast, we have a multicast group address that people can subscribe to, and once they have that particular address, any news feeds, any video, any software distribution coming in will go to that specific device that has those addresses. Okay, can be multiple devices. And then we have broadcast communications. Broadcast communications, again, directed, where we go to a specific network and we just say all hosts, 255, broadcast. So here I had a device, I guess this device, trying to send to every device on that network. He sends that out. Nobody else knows what to do with it, but the router gets it. And as long as the router is configured to be able to handle that type of a directed broadcast, he can send it on to the network, and every device on that network will see that message. The other type of broadcast we had was a limited broadcast. That is limited to one specific network. So if I'm sitting here and I want to send a broadcast to everybody on my network, I use this address. 255.255.255.255. All bits on. Again, broadcast. I turned them all on though, even on the network portion. That's what makes this a limited broadcast. This cannot go anywhere but here. When it gets to the router's just going to drop it. He doesn't know what to do with it. But in the meanwhile, everybody on my particular network will see the message that's addressed to 255, 255, 255, 255. Those are your 3 types of communications. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration. It got a little busy, but if you took notes, you should be okay.